Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about solving linear equations. We're going to start with more basic linear equations, and then with each problem, it's going to get like a little bit more difficult. Okay, so for this first one, we have 7 times x is equal to 4. And I purposely gave one that you might not be able to do in your head right away. Because I want to point out that when we want to figure out what times x is equal to something, we can divide both sides by the coefficient of x. So I'm going to divide by the coefficient 7. And in doing so, on the left-hand side, I get x is equal to, and on the right-hand side, I get 4/7. And we could check that this is actually true. So we had 7x equals 4. And if I plug in x is equal to 4/7, I get 7 times 4/7 is equal to 4. And when I do 7 times 4/7, I get 28 over 7 is equal to 4. And that for sure is true. Okay, so the next one we have x minus 2 is equal to 1/3. And if I want to get rid of this minus 2, if I want to figure out what number minus 2 is equal to 1/3, I can take 1/3 and add 2 to it. So I'm going to add 2 on both sides. And I'll get x on the left-hand side is equal to 1/3 plus 2. Which, getting common denominators, I have 1/3 plus 6/3, which is 7/3. And so I have x is equal to 7/3. All right, now this next one we have a two-step equation. All that means is that basically it's a combo of the previous two. So I have 8x plus 3 is equal to 4/5. And we're basically going to kind of peel off these layers of what's happening to x. So notice that x, the first thing that we do is we multiply by 8. So we have this x, the first thing we do is we multiply by 8, and then we add 3 to it. So we're going to work backwards. I'm going to get rid of the 3, and then I'm going to divide by the 8, and so that I peel away the layers for x. So I have, I can add 3 to both sides, and I get 8x is equal to 4/5 plus 3. And so I'm going to simplify the right-hand side real quick. I'm going to get common denominator, so I have 4/5 plus 15/5. So that's going to be 19/5. So now I can rewrite 8x is equal to 19/5 is what I'm working with. And then I can divide both sides by 8. So I get x is equal to 19/5 divided by 8, which is going to turn into 19/40. Notice that I just put a factor of 8 in the denominator. All right, so we have this next one. 2 times x minus 1/4 is equal to 3/2. So for this one, we have two options, and I'm going to actually show you the two options that we have. Option 1, we can distribute the 2. So I'm going to take this 2x minus 1/4 equals 3/2, and I'm going to distribute this 2 using the distributive property. So I get 2 times x minus 2 times 1/4, which is 1/2, is equal to 3/2. And now I treat this like the previous equation. I'm going to deal with the minus 1/2 first by adding 1/2 on both sides. And then I get 2x is equal to 3/2 plus 1/2 gives us 4/2, which is just 2. And then by dividing by 2 on both sides, I can find that x must be equal to 1. Okay, so that's option 1. Option 2 is we can divide by the 2 first. So I have this 2x minus 1/4 is equal to 3/2. And I can divide both sides by 2 actually. This cancels this 2. And note, this only works because 2 is being multiplied by all of x minus 1/4. It's not just 2 times x. It's 2 times x minus 1/4. So that whole left-hand side is being multiplied by 2. So when I divide the whole left-hand side by 2, then they cancel out. So on the left-hand side, I'm left with x minus 1/4. And then when I take 3/2 and I divide it by 2, if you want to write out the scratch work for that, you can. But we would end up getting 3/4. And now I'm going to add the 1/4 on the left-hand side to both sides. So I've got plus 1/4 plus 1/4. And so I get x is equal to 3/4 plus 1/4 is 4/4, which is 1. And I get the same answer. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and try this next one. Pause the video and resume it when you're ready to see the solution. Okay, so for this one, personally, I would distribute the 3 because then I'll avoid working with fractions. Because if I divide by 3, I'll get a 1/3 on the right-hand side where I wouldn't have had fractions previously. So when I distribute the 3, I get 3x plus 6 is equal to 1. I can subtract 6 from both sides, and I get 3x is equal to negative 5. I can divide by 3 on both sides, and I'll end up getting that x is equal to negative 5/3. All right, now we have this next one, which looks a little different because we have more than one x going on. Notice in all the previous ones, we only had one x to deal with. Well, now we have more than one x. And I'll tell you that the key for solving problems like this are going to be combine all of our like terms. So we're going to combine all x terms. That's going to be the key to solving these types of equations that have more than one. So to do that, I want to expand everything. And what I mean by that is distribute everything you can. So I have this x minus, I'm going to distribute the 2. So I have minus 2 times x, and then minus 2 times a minus 1, which gives me plus 2. And then I get equals 14. And now I'm going to combine my like terms right here. I have an x minus 2x. Well, 1x minus 2x is going to be a negative 1x. And so I have negative 1x plus 2 equals 14. Note, I could just write this as x, negative x plus 2 equals 14. And then I'm going to deal with this plus 2 by subtracting 2 on both sides. So I get negative x is equal to 12. And then I want to flip the sign of x. So I have negative x is equal to 12, but I want positive x. So basically I can divide both sides by negative 1, and I get x is equal to negative 12. All right, this is our last one. Go ahead and see if you can figure out how to do this one. So remember, I told you the key to doing problems like this with multiple x's is to expand everything and combine all of your like terms. Okay, so we're going to distribute everything. So on this first one, I'm going to distribute the 3. On the second one, I'm going to distribute this minus, equivalently minus 1. So I get 3 times 2 gives me 6, minus 3x, minus x, minus 10 is equal to 4x plus 4. And now I'm going to combine like terms on the left-hand side. My like terms here are minus 3x and a minus x. So if I have negative 3x minus 1x, that's going to give me a minus 4x. And then I have this 6 and this minus 10 that I can combine. 6 minus 10 gives me minus 4, and I get equals, and on the right-hand side I can leave this 4x plus 4. Well, now I have an x on the left-hand side and an x on the right-hand side, and so I'm going to need to move one of them over. And you can do this just like we were moving numbers from one side to the other before. I can, for example, this minus 4x, I can add 4x to both sides. And on the left-hand side, if I have a negative 4x plus 4x, those cancel out, and I get negative 4 is equal to 4 plus 4 gives me 8x plus 4. Now I can subtract 4 from both sides, and I get negative 8 is equal to 8x. Finally, I can divide both sides by 8, and I get x is equal to negative 1.